All right, what's going on, guys?
This is it, dude. How's it going?
Yeah, no, it's good, man. Yeah, sorry I'm late. So seriously, sometimes when you have one of those pre-workout naps, well, mine was like 3 hours. So, 'cause I had an alarm on my phone. My phone died while I was napping. And then I woke up and I'm like, what time is it? And Nat's like, yeah, it's like almost 3 o'clock. I'm like, holy shit, I was supposed to train at 1:30. So
Did you find the training was better? Yeah.
yeah, it was better actually, to be honest. Because I was tired,
Nice.
and I've been fighting, like I told you, Kenton, like I've been fighting off like a sinus infection or some shit. So I think I told you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know you got something going on every prep, so I would assume nothing less.
Yeah, there's always something, but better get it out of the way now.
Yeah, right.
That's what I told you.
Do you never have an issue, Nate, on prep with something?
Not really, honestly. My digestion is like, I have an iron stomach. My health markers are usually always pretty dang good. Like I absorb food well, and I just sort of get lean in a linear sort of path, you know what I mean? Just sort of that like that. I mean, it's just sort of I've always had a really good metabolism too, like one of those like really skinny ripped kids as when I was younger,
Yeah.
So as long as I could keep up with the eating, I could put the muscle on essentially.
Yeah, fair enough. What's going on, Kurt? How you been?
Nothing, man. It's crazy.
Cool. Same old shit, just researching.
Well, yeah, and Paul Barnett did a video with Wesley, and Wesley said some nice things about me, so my day's been hectic because of that.
That's awesome, man. That's cool. What else is going on, guys?
In a good way.
How's training? How's life?
For me?
Yeah, for everyone.
Yeah, for me, it's good. No complaints, man. I'm just happy to be here. Vertical, breathing.
Yeah. How's prep so far, Nate?
Good, man. Everything's moving really well, and starting to see things come to life and see some progress from the off season, which is nice, because I was in a place where I was like, I should know this by now, because it happens every year, right? Where you're like 12 weeks out, 13 weeks out, you're losing some body fat, and you're like, man, I didn't make any progress. And then all of a sudden it's like 9, 8 weeks. You're like, okay, I'm starting to see what I was thinking I was going to see in the beginning of off season, so starting to see good improvements. Definitely my quads I'm very happy with. And my back's starting to come to life. It takes a while because it's like the last thing to get lean, so my front side's usually like my abs are pretty much in and that kind of stuff. My waist gets really small, but just the back fat takes a while to like thin out,
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of what I'm at too, is like just the back fat. I feel like the back side, like my front side is getting pretty lean. The back side needs to get leaner, So yeah. What about you, Kenton? How was your dive today?
Not bad. 2.5 hours in. It was cold. Like, I don't typically get cold for what we do, construction, through the winter, but like today was a lot of like stationary work. So it was a little colder than usual, but it was good. It was a good dive, man. I've been killing I was telling you, I've been killing the diving this week. It's been awesome. Yeah. One of my divers got pneumonia, so he can't go in. So I've been doing it all. The only downside to it is training wise, I can't physically train because I was telling you about this too. With the nitrogen that you accumulate in your system, essentially your muscle tissues, if I train, it will release that nitrogen into my bloodstream, which can cause, depending on the concentration of nitrogen, a myriad of problems. Could be, so many things, man.
Oh yeah.
But it's been good. I cut back on the training, and this weekend I'll get back at it, and basically I can go and hit whatever I want. So that makes a bit of a difference.
Nice, man. BAIDI, what's going on?
Well, BAIDI.
Hey, what's up, man? What's up, brother? Sorry to be late. I was having a meal and I realized that it's not my podcast, so I could eat when I want it.
You can eat and you can be late. I was late too, so.
Oh, that's where you're going with it. Like, I could be late. It's not my podcast.
Yeah.
It's pretty casual, but okay. So before we get into it, I want to say we did do a Rebel Fit Nutrition giveaway real quick. So we did that giveaway for the month of March, and have the winner right here. So I'm going to announce that, and we can get you your gift card. So the winner is
BAIDI. Oh, thank you, man.
Quinn McCleverty on Instagram, McClevertyQ. So congratulations, Quinn. You're going to get a $350 gift certificate for rebelfitnutrition.com. All right, let's get into the podcast now.
No, that's awesome. Congrats, man.
Yeah.
No, really, that's a wicked giveaway. That's awesome. Thanks to Rebel Fit for sure.
Yeah, no, honestly, man, like, I've been working with Rebel Fit Nutrition since 2021, and they're expanding. They're basically a nutrition supplement store, retail store in Canada. So they're out in BC, and they're expanding different stores in BC and hoping to get across Canada. So it's cool when you can see a small company give things back when there's bigger companies that don't even do that. It's like, I know he doesn't make that much money that he can give away compared to some other companies, but he's doing it, and that's why I support the business. So yeah, the more you give, the more you
that's
get.
Awesome.
That's it. So
when is when is BioLab Shop gonna do a giveaway? I want to get my hands on
I know they gotta do a GH giveaway.
Yeah, that's what
Are you working with them now yet, or no?
No, I did hit up that contact. I'm still waiting for him to get back. We're kind of mid conversation, so hopefully we could do some GH giveaways next time.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing is, like, if you can do a giveaway for clothes, if you can do a giveaway for supplements, then you can do a giveaway for GH. Why not?
Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So BAIDI, you started your contest prep now, I saw, right?
I did. So me and I saw Compton the other day. He had another client in a Vegas show. So he flew into LA. We got a couple workouts in, and we drove to Vegas together, and we kind of talked about the game plan, which is basically I'm gonna kill you with cardio and no carbs until you're lean, which is perfect. I mean, that's how you get in shape. I mean, give and take some recovery and some high carbs and refeeds. That's pretty much that simple. You just starve the fat off and and kind of once you're in shape, peaking isn't really a big deal because you can't peak body fat. Once you're lean, you're ready to go. So I just want to get shredded, man. That's always been my kryptonite. Just having that I won't say thick skin. It sounds cliche, but that look that sometimes it's hard to get that separated look if you have a certain look to your muscle, right? So trying to get that shredded look.
The thing is too, is like not everybody gets as shredded as easily as Nate or maybe Kurt or whoever, but like for me, I find that I get shredded relatively easy, but I still have to push it to a certain degree. So you just have to know how much for yourself you have to push it. Some people have to do 3 hours of cardio to get in shape. Some people are luckier and they can only do 45 minutes and get in shape. You just have to be realistic with your body, And I think a lot of people, when they're doing more cardio or they're going on low calories, they get so obsessed with like losing muscle. They're like, that's all they can think about is like, I don't want to lose muscle. When you should really just be thinking about like what you're saying is, I just want to get shredded. That's the main focus. And so what? Even if you did lose like a pound of muscle or two, like, is that really a huge fucking deal? I mean, your goal is to get shredded, right? So you have to push it to a certain degree. And also, I feel like you don't lose muscle that easily. People, they get scared of losing muscle, but it's like, bro, you're lifting weights, you're taking gear, and you're eating a lot of protein. Like, are you seriously worried about losing muscle at that point? Unless you're training like an absolute pussy, then I feel like if you have muscle on your body, like it's not going to just disappear. You know what I mean? If you're training like decent.
I mean, the thing is too, like you can have all the muscle in the world, but if you're not in condition at USA's, it doesn't matter. You're going to be in last call out. So you know what I mean? 100%. Like at national shows, if you're not in shape, I was 230 pounds beating guys all the time that were like 20 pounds bigger than me. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, yeah, the biggest guy almost never wins. Like, how often does actually the biggest guy win? It's almost
when he's
never,
the most shredded. That's it. When he's the most shredded.
Exactly. Yeah. He basically, that's the only time. But Joe was the lightest guy at USA's. Joe was supposed to be a heavyweight, and then Compton was like, "You're ready." So he stepped on stage, barely making super. When Carlos won his card, he barely made supers. So we're talking about the lightest heavyweights are usually winning. There's guys in the lineup, sometimes 270, 280. But they're not the ones winning, man. They're not. Okay. I mean that.
I was just to say, if you look at Hadi Chopin, his actual weight for the Arnold was 225. He's beating Samson all day at 300.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean the top guys in the world are 212 guys. that tells you a lot, you know. It's really like, yeah, of course bodybuilding is about size, but size only matters if you're shredded. It's that simple, you know.
True.
So every year when I compete, everybody's like, oh, this guy should be winning, but he's not shredded. So I'm tired of hearing that. So time to get shredded. And even if you sacrifice the muscle, sometimes it's necessary. I think during age, I think he kind of competed 10, 15 pounds heavier easily, you know, and he still would have been in shape, but he went that extra mile. And I don't think Dorian was ever full. I think Dorian was pretty flat, but it didn't matter because he has enough muscle and he's shredded. So I think that's always. Have we ever seen Hadi and Derek bursting full? I don't think so. I think they're about 60% full, if that. They're just really in shape, really, you know.
And Hadi's strategy pre-show was the opposite. The other guys' coaches fill him, right? Spill, use diuretics to clean it up. And Hadi's coach pulled the food out from him. That's why you can still do a vacuum.
Exactly.
When like I was there, you watch them pose, there was just no comparison between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was always taught to do like lower food on a show day. Like,
Why would you fill your stomach
just be ready to go? Cause you know, especially with the way that my waist looks, if it's full of food, it doesn't look good. But if I can do a nice vacuum, it's empty, then my whole physique looks drastically better. You know, like that difference in waist to me makes a bigger improvement in my physique than actually being fuller does. So, and I've experimented with both, obviously, right? And the you know, the judging doesn't lie. It's like my best showing, I wasn't necessarily full by any means. And I feel like you have to figure that out too. It's like you have to know your body, like how full you need to be in order to look your best peak, right? So, but then it's like, yeah, I mean, being flat, that's one issue where I feel like you can look softer because you're flat. But then what most guys do is they just overcarb to shit. And I feel like if you're really truly conditioned, then obviously you can get away with pushing it a little bit more in terms of carbohydrate and stuff. But that's definitely a big mistake, is you're trying to be as big as possible so you don't get quite fully peeled, and then you try to carb overload to try to make up for, you know, the size that you think you need, and it won't be a good look. You got to get peeled, right? That's what we do, is we get peeled to the bone, right? So if you can't do that, then I don't know if you can win, right?
I think they're the overemphasis with some coaches as far as filling out and being super full
and stage weight.
I
like the obsession with like, oh, he gained 15. It's like, okay, but how does it look? Because it doesn't even matter how much stage weight you really gain. Even if you lost stage weight and look better, you could say like, oh yeah, I gained 10 pounds of stage weight, and people would believe you.
Yeah, it's so irrelevant because we've never heard Hadi or Derek or their coach come out and say every show, yeah, he's gonna weigh this much, because it doesn't matter. Like, nobody, do we care? No. Do the judges care? Nobody cares. It's a game of how you look. So imagine if Robin, you text me like 2 weeks out from your stage, and you're like, oh, how you looking? I'm like, oh, bro, I'm my biggest ever. I'm gonna be at least 275. You're gonna be like, holy fuck. You're gonna be sweating like, this is not good, right? You're not gonna be like, yeah, good job. You're gonna be like, that don't sound right. You shouldn't be that heavy, bro. You know,
Yeah,
it doesn't work that way, you know. But yeah, I feel like they're the overemphasis in the carb nut process. I think most people that work with certain coaches, I think they come in way too full. Samson just doesn't need to be that full, you know. You have people like, okay, so Compton, a lot of people assume he was bursting full just because he's so round. And Compton's like, no, man, I barely push it. I was maybe 60%. You just can't tell. You know, same with Phil and Hani. People assume Phil was bursting full every time, but he wasn't. He was maybe, that's just his muscle bellies. He was maybe 60, 70% max. Hani's not going to, yeah. So if he's 90, 95%, Hani isn't the kind of coach to say, let's knock it out the park and go for 110%. Because if you miss that 110%, you're going to drop back down to like 80, and it's not worth it. You know, I don't think it's worth it. I think Samson is better off just playing it really safe, a little flatter with the lines there. And even at 95%, that's enough for Samson. I don't think Samson has to try to knock it out the park and be like a Ronnie Coleman second coming or anything like that, you know?
yeah.
Well, Samson has some issues with the scale. He doesn't like the scale to drop. So he was not listening to Milos, because as the weight was going down, he was refeeding to get the scale back up.
Yeah.
And he was sick. He had the flu as well. So he wasn't looking great, feeling great, you know. And it's, if you ignore your coach, what do you expect?
It's true. And even just being obsessed about the weight in general can really mess with your head in the contest.
Yeah.
You know, that's why, and I talked about this before, the best thing to do if it starts to bother you is just have like one of your teammates, like, you know, if it's your wife or somebody who's like watching over you, just have them send your coach the weight so you don't even have to look at it. And you don't know what it is and you don't care at that point. That's what I do. If it starts to bother me, it's what I do. And I don't care if that's like a weird thing to do. Because if it bothers me, if it gets in my head, I'd rather not have a variable that's going to mess with my head. I just let my coach deal with it, and he's going to tell me what to do, and I'm going to do that.
That's
It's,
smart.
it's
Smart.
definitely so
Yeah.
possible, man. Like, we might say like, oh, this guy has like a concern about his weight, but I feel like every single open bodybuilder, if not every bodybuilder, period, has that same issue. So it's not like it's a weird thing to be like, this guy wants to be a certain weight. We all want to be a certain weight. It's just that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I guess in the off season I have weight goals, but for stage at this point I don't have any weight goals, man. Because it's like it almost doesn't matter what I want. It's what's there, right? So if I want to be 260, it's like that's cool, but uh you're in shape when you're in shape. So if I'm not in shape at 260, I gotta throw that. It's okay to have the goal, like hopefully I'm at 260, but if you're not there, you're not there. This is why you have to listen to your coach 100%.
Yeah.
This is like must be like a new age thing about like this half coaching thing. I mean, the way I learned is you follow your coach 100%, and if you don't trust him, then you shouldn't be working with him.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. I don't even ask Compton questions. I trust Compton. I mean, Compton knows what he's doing. I've seen it a million times. I'll listen to him. I don't even ask questions. I might give my input, like, "Hey, is leg training been horrible? I can't get a pump, shit like that." But even that, rarely do I say that. I just
Yeah.
do the work. It's that simple.
Problem is with these coaches is they're too soft and they don't want to lose their all-star athlete, so they get soft, you know what I mean? And they let them do, oh, you want to do that? I don't want to lose this person's name or posting them. You know what I mean? I see that. I think that's happening a little bit much, you know what I mean, with like the top pros.
Yeah,
Like,
same
oh,
here.
you can do a little bit like who would co-sign on James Hong said being like, yeah, just so you know, I'm going to tell you when I have cheat meals and they're going to be every 4 days,
Yeah,
And I
right?
get to decide what
yeah,
they
that's what I'm
are.
saying.
Why would you
Yeah.
even go? Oh, I mean, I love James. He's a man, but I guess maybe he's sort of in his head on the coaching thing, but like,
Well, that's
bro,
the
this
thing too, is like I've been in a situation where the coach is more lenient and lets you do what you want. Almost like, like a Chris Aceto. Like most people know, the Chris Aceto he'll discipline, he'll be around basically on your contest prep, but then in your off season, you're just free to do kind of whatever. And that works for some people, but for me, it's like if I have a coach who just lets me do whatever I want, then I'll just think I'm basically coaching myself at that point. Like, what's the difference?
they can't complain though when their name is tarnished. You know what I mean? That's the problem. Is like
That
they got to
too.
remember that their name is their brand. So like when they're putting out
Mhm.
that product, like okay, that guy's doing what he's wanting, you're okay with it. But then when it comes back and it doesn't go your way, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's a
Yeah.
weird thing because it's even what Dorian said to me as a coach. He's like, "Well, if I'm your coach, if I'm being a coach for somebody, then I need to be in control of at least know what's going on. Because if you're making changes that I don't know what's going on, then I feel like I'm not doing my part as a coach. I don't want to be involved with something like that. And I totally understand. Because imagine if you guys had a client and you're telling them, okay, this is, and they're looking great and they're looking awesome. Then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, so yeah, we won this, but by the way, like I only did like half of the shit you told me, and the rest of it was on my own. You'd be like, dude, like that would just be such a weird, like awkward feeling, right? So, I feel like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the important part about being in the right coaching relationship, is that the coach can like reel you in when you think you're like when you start going off, like a good wife, like, bro,
Mhm.
chill the fuck out, like just follow the plan, you're fine. Like sometimes you just need to have someone to tell you to shut the fuck up, basically, right?
I agree. When it comes to coaching relationship and friendships, there's a fine line that you want to be careful of, because if you become too friendly sometimes and you lose that coach client relationship, that's when the coach might start to listen to you too much or maybe feel bad for you. Like, oh, this guy's suffering. Oh, his girlfriend is mad at him. Let me take it easy on him. You don't want to get to that point. I was talking to Nick about this and I was like, I don't know if you should be super friendly with your coach because you might lose that. And he's like, it can work as long as you still see him like a big brother kind of figure. You can't see him as an equal. You can't just be like, this is just my boy. That's not gonna have to hold the same weight. Me and Compton are friends. Like we hang out and all of that, but there's still that big brother thing. I don't see Compton as an equal. Like this is just my friend. I look up to him still. And I think that's important for you to respect them to a point that they're just not your buddy. Because if your buddy is coaching you, if my training partner coaches me, I'm kind of gonna just be whatever. So I
Yeah.
think it's important to be careful. And Milos admittedly said that he gets so close to his clients, they become like family, which is, the coaching starts to get a little loose. Maybe his wife jumps in a little too much, and maybe he starts to feel bad for him. If something's like, I don't want to eat fish, okay, we're not going to eat fish. Whereas if it's just a coach client relationship, you'll be like, no, You have to eat this fish. Like Hani, none of Hani's clients are gonna tell him no. If
Right.
Hani tells you to
Hold
eat
on,
fish,
though.
you eat fish. Mhm.
That's the thing, though. As one of the athletes aspiring to be one of the top bodybuilders in the world, should you not want to simply do what it is that you're told to do from a coach that has the accolades behind them as well and the track record with you as an athlete? If he tells you to eat the fish and you say you don't want to eat the fish, are you failing as an athlete because you're not willing to do exactly what it takes
Yeah.
Yeah.
to
I
get
would
to
say
that next level?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
Right?
so.
Think about it like this. Okay, let's
Yeah.
say if I leave my coach today and I hire a new coach, you damn sure are right. I'm going to hire someone that I trust, respect, and I got to follow to a T, because why would I waste my time? I guess it seems like common sense
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Like,
Yeah.
common
100%.
So
sense,
okay,
like,
so me and Stu talked about this, right? So are you both at fault? Because Stu believes that as the coach, if the client doesn't follow your plan time and time again, you have to let him go. Because he
Yeah.
said Blue is gonna let you go. If you're telling Blue that I'm not gonna do hour cardio and I'm not gonna eat fish, he's not gonna put his name to you. So I kind of get that, but like I don't know. I also feel like it's really up to the athlete, because I don't think Compton will let you go. I think he's just gonna have a conversation with you and say, listen, if you're not following this, you're not gonna get the results I want you to get. So if you're comfortable with that, then I'm gonna treat you this way.
Mhm.
And I probably would do the same thing. I probably wouldn't let you go. I'll probably just understand that you want to do your own thing and you just want my eyes. Okay, cool. But then it's hard to put you in. But then also, I know people like Blue and Hani, they will just not put their name with you, and I think that's fair as well. So does Milo still take some blame because he didn't drop Samson, or is it all Samson's fault that he didn't follow it?
I
It's a
mean,
two-way street.
yeah, I was
It's a
gonna say
two-way street.
it's got to be both ways, man. You know,
It
it's
goes
always
both
it's always
ways.
both. It's like a breakup, right? It's like who was wrong. It's like there's two sides. There's three sides of the story, right? There's one side, there's the other side, and there's what really happened. And you know, I think when it comes down to the athlete, like you have a responsibility to be honest with your coach if you're following the plan or not. That's like the baseline like responsibility of an athlete, as well as just like doing your normal duties, check-ins, and stuff like that. But the coach needs to know what's going on in order to make any real decisions. And then the coach has to be the one that, if the athlete starts to stray from the path, then they're the ones that can kind of go, like for me, what I do with my clients, I just do strike 1, 2, and 3. Right. It's like, okay, this is, and I don't necessarily tell them that that's a strike, but you know, I'll note that down. It's like, okay, this guy was blatantly lying to me. That's a strike. You know, if I figured these types of things out, and you know, I give people the benefit of the doubt, right? Like, of course, we're going to. I wouldn't just fire somebody right out the gill just because they fucked up once or twice. But there's that three things. It's kind of like, you know, if you're lying to me, that's a huge thing, right? Because the transparency and the communication is important. But yes, I think for sure the coach has a responsibility to fire, or at least have that conversation about being fired as a client. Like, hey, listen, like this is your last strike. Like, I really want to keep working with you, but you know, here's some guidelines. And I've had that conversation with Dorian, and that's basically what he said is, hey man, like if you're going to make changes to the plan, just make sure you coordinate those with me before you execute them. Because if you do them first and then tell me in the back end that I didn't know what was actually going on. So those are the types of things that the athlete has to come forward and tell the coach about. Otherwise, the coach has no idea and they're not mind readers. And then the coach has to say, okay, listen, this is how I want things to run. And then every client has to follow that standard.
well, I mean, at the
Yeah.
way I look at it is like, you got to look at this as a business and your name. So like a lot of these guys, I think they're just not, maybe have come from that background, and then they start coaching, and it's like you got to have like standards and like boundaries, like all like relationship boundaries. You know what I mean? Like there has to be that black and white line somewhere, even if you are friendly with someone. You know what I mean? Like, because I have like clients that I consider friends, but I'm not scared to like put them in their place. You know what I mean? You have to have a little bit. I think Milos maybe might be a little soft and probably doesn't, is maybe scared to vocalize that and be like, hey, guy, like we're buddies, but like, you know what I mean? Like, or this is the deal, you know, and be more stern about it, you know?
Yeah.
You guys remember when was Roman Fritz was like kind of working with Compton,
Yeah.
but Compton was more like a friend. Like he would bounce things off him, but Roman was kind of, do his own thing. But they didn't promote it. It wasn't like Compton was posting him all over, like this is my client Roman, and Roman wasn't like, oh, this is Coach Compton. They didn't make it a thing because they're friends and he's helping him. But Roman kind of doing his own thing at the same time. I think that's fine, but it kind of has to be out there. I think James and Milos kind of said it. Like I remember James saying that he kind of does his own refeeds and Milos kind of an eye. That makes more sense because now we know that this is not your name on the line. This is just a friend. Even when Compton was with Evogen, Hani might be like, "Hey, let me take a look at you. Yeah, you look good. You know, maybe push harder." But it was never like Hani was never Justin's coach. You know, just keep it like that. We just friends. I'll bounce it off of you. You know, but once it's a coach-client relationship, then it has to be kind of like one way or the other. It can't be both. You know.
I think you make a good point because I've coached a buddy where he was a national guy and I just wanted to help him out and like we were buddies and like I didn't post him, right? It was just like, okay, let's do this and like whatever happens type thing. But I think where James, if I remember correctly, he sort of came out and was like, "Hey, Milos is my new coach," and it was like sort of newsworthy. So that's when it sort of becomes, well, if you want to just be, hey, we're going to be 50-50, I wouldn't come out and announce him as like, hey, this is a big deal. This is my new guy, you know?
No, they did though.
Yeah.
James did make it pretty clear from the start that, I mean, he told Morgan flat out. Morgan was saying on the last podcast that he's relatively uncoachable. They did have the word out there of James was going to be also working with Milos, not Milos just working him kind of thing, right? But that didn't work either. You know, that didn't work either.
No.
So it goes back to some of the other stuff that you guys were saying, right? Making sure that you have that right client coach relationship. And you guys are coaches, so you know more about it than me for sure. But clearly there has to be experience, I think, for one, right?
Yeah.
Milos worked with James. They tried it. It didn't work. And one of the things that I did like about it is that James knew himself enough to say, you know what? This isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And then one show and done. Now, the Arnold UK certainly didn't work for him either. That whole strategy of spilling over early and then trying to suck down, that didn't work either. But at least he was honest enough where, like you guys were saying, that's not always the case, of being able to say, this isn't going to work for me moving forward.
Yeah.
What's up, Justin?
Can-
Yo, can you Justin? What's up, man? Can you turn your phone sideways? You got to fit your whole fucking shoulders in the frame, bro.
Yeah, I know you're huge, dude.
What's the weight? What's the weight at, Justin?
I came down now. I'm around 330.
Yeah, just
That's
came
it?
down, came down. a little bit.
Came down 330.
Just
Yeah.
I know
330,
you're a
okay.
tall guy. I know you're tall, but man,
Yeah, I'm
That's-
in my recovery phase now.
Nice.
Oh,
That's cool.
damn, yeah.
now
Do you guys
it's-
do
Yeah, go
you
ahead.
guys think that bodybuilders are even capable of coaching themselves like that last 4 weeks? Or do you think it's in your best interest, you know, to coach yourself, or probably
Depends.
you know? I mean, Compton was successful. Compton did it great, but Compton also admits that he probably would have looked better if he had at least like a second, third eye, or like you know, like or a coach in general, because Compton never peaked perfectly. He was just so fucking good that he could still win even if he wasn't 100%.
I mean,
You know?
I'm friends with Roman. Roman coaches himself. I mean,
Oh, he looks
we've all,
good.
as friends, looked at things with him, but like he does his own thing. Now that's rare, right? Most guys, myself included, need someone to tell me what to do
Yeah, yeah.
because I'll make bad decisions.
But
Yeah,
I think something with Roman is he said it himself that it's hard for him to like kind of like ease off because I think he seems to like someone who's very, very intense. So having
Right.
someone in your corner, having someone in your corner that can actually like not necessarily make you push, but actually hold the leash a little bit so that you don't overdo it, right? So but I think having someone in your corner, especially the last 4 weeks, you don't really see yourself. And we all have that mentality where at the end we kind of all feel like we look like shit. So that kind of like whether we're too flat, to still some body fat off, it's sometimes it's hard to gauge it yourself and to see yourself in the mirror and to be objective.
yeah.
the
Would
vast
it be fair
majority
to-
of athletes, the vast majority of athletes say those last 3 or 4 weeks, I want the coach especially to tell me what to do so I don't need to think about it. Pretty much everybody that I've spoken to has that attitude. And it's proper. You're not thinking clearly,
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say that pretty much everybody could benefit at least from having a coach? Would be better.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so because I've done
Yeah.
both. Obviously, I've worked with a lot of different coaches, but I've done a couple of preps where I coach myself. And I just felt like I was just way too stressed, you know. And I still had to reach out to somebody to get a second eye anyways, because again, it's like I didn't know what the fuck I was looking at that point. I didn't know. And so I still needed to have somebody in my corner to still give me their opinion anyways and act like a coach, but then I make my own decisions, which it really is just more stressful in the end, right? So I feel like, yes, definitely a coach for a serious competitor is always like an asset, right? And I feel like the coach does more than obviously just create a program for you too. It's like I feel like when you have a coach, especially when the coach is there with you at the show, it gives you like a sense of ease, and you know it's nice to know for sure that you have that person there supporting you throughout the entire experience, right? So to me, I feel like that's what makes the biggest difference is you were with somebody and they were watching you the whole time, and now they're there with you on that day to watch you actually do the thing versus like, you know, I've worked with coaches and they're there with you the whole time, and then the last couple of days they're just like busy with other things, and that's like the worst feeling. So and that was those are the experiences that were like, I'll just do it on my own. So it's like, well, you just have to find the right coach. Find the right coach, and then that's the best for you, in my opinion.
And look at all
Yeah.
the other sports. Any other sports, no one's doing it by themselves. Hockey, football, like anyone, any other sport. We have the only sport that people are like, you know what, I can do it myself, you know? So
Yeah.
and oftentimes like it does look, you'll have bad experiences and you'll meet people that I've been lucky enough to work with one person the entire time. And you know, who knows what's going to happen in the future, but you can have experiences where they're not necessarily bad, they're not necessarily good, but that doesn't mean that everyone else that you're going to be working with is not going to benefit you, you know? So I think, you know, taking the time to actually do your research and, you know, like we know it at this point, we know a ton of competitors, like having some feedback, like, hey, like, how was your experience? You know, whatever. Like, I could talk to Robin, like, say, hey, man, like, how was it working with Dorian? This is that. And like, this is kind of the thing where you're not guessing anymore as much, you know, when you're starting off maybe a little bit more because you're going to go for maybe like a local coach, something like that, and then you're kind of just like throwing you're giving them your trust. But now at this point, we know a lot of people that are in the industry. Like you can find a coach that is reputable and that people have good opinions on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like I feel like as a man, as men, we're not used to having a ton of emotional and support in that way. So we kind of want to say we can do anything by ourselves, right? We're used to doing everything by ourselves. So part of us, we feel like we don't need anybody. We don't need any help. We can handle it. But the truth is that it's not how life works. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs support, and it's okay to admit that you don't have to do everything on your own. I guess in the life of a man, we're kind of on our own for the most. We don't have too much mental emotional support like that, so we kind of just get used to we got to handle business ourselves, and that sometimes translates to this, because that's how I felt. I feel like I don't need anybody. I'll do everything on my own. I'll make it, and it's okay to have help in life.
yeah. Yeah. 100%, man. That's such a good point because, yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, like, dude, like if you have a good team in your corner, then you can go much farther than if you were trying to do things on your own. I think there's just no arguing that. And, we see it time and time again. It's a good point, Justin, like about other sports too, because all other sports have coaches, and, bodybuilders want to have coaches, but they want to have the coach like make them into something when really it's like you're the athlete. You want the athlete experience. You're the athlete. The coach doesn't make you into anything. The coach is just there to guide you, right? So
Yeah.
it's such a big misconception that people are like looking for the coach to like change things and make them just, give them the secret or something like that. It's like, no, bro, like it's your job. It's your job to do the work. It's your job to be the impressive athlete to impress your coach, show up the next week and be like, look, coach, like look at all this work I've done, and impress them. That should be your goal, not to try to like show them how fucking smart you are because you're doing things
Yeah.
better than they could give you. It's like that's not what the coaching relationship is really about. So
And the misconception also is when I feel like people are going to coaches and like, oh well, look, Hani's coaching Derek and Han and Hadi and whatever. So I go with Hani, I'm gonna fucking explode, you know what I mean? But you have what you have. The coaches don't make you what you don't have. You know what I mean? Like, you still have to be an awesome athlete to be able to be at that level, you know? So they don't make you that. I'm not saying that they won't make the right decisions to like refine your physique, make it better. But the bottom line, you're doing the work in the gym, you're putting on the muscle. Like, you have to have something for the coach to work with. They're not going to transform you into something you're not, you know?
100%. And especially when you're working with a coach that's already been there and done that. Like, for example,
Yeah.
working with Dorian, he's already brought Olympians to the stage. You work with Hani, he's already made Olympians. So when you're ready to take that step and get to that level, then that's what you're looking for, right? It's like you're going to go hike up this, crazy mountain, but you would try to do it by yourself. Like, no, dude, like you would definitely have a guide to make sure you actually get there, right? Because a lot of bodybuilders, like, they have the potential, they have the genetics, they have everything at their fingertips, but then they just, for whatever reason, they don't make it there, right? And I think just having that coach in your corner, having that right team, it increases your chances of making it there. Phenomenal, like, increase in percentage.
Yep.
Anyways, I wanted to ask you guys some questions. I wanted to get your opinion. What makes a good supplement company? I feel like there's so many supplement companies out there, and everybody is trying to make the biggest, strongest, best pre-workout and all this kind of stuff. In your opinion, guys, what makes a good supplement company? Let's start with Kurt. I see you thinking.
Probably, I'd say first, probably proven ingredients, integrity, probably not using proprietary blends of things, like listing the actual milligram amount of everything in it, being made in a decent facility. Trying to think what else. I mean, silly shit, like don't make your jars, like I can't fit my hand in some of those stupid jars that they put these powders in, and I'm not even a big guy. I can't imagine what you guys are 300 pounds.
I got to talk to Dorian about that. Like, bro, there's some of these.
It's clearly a growth
Next
hormone
time,
problem.
I can't fit my hand. I'm like, for sure, I'm not the only one who can't fit his hand. I've asked people to like do the scoops for me. You know,
You just got to get really good at the 2-finger grab.
that's what it is. But I'll give him that though. They have those long,
The long
like
scoop.
kind of like the long scoops. Yeah.
I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of companies are doing is they're focusing too much on the flavoring and the sweeteners, and I feel like that kind of dilutes the product, because I'm looking at a lot of supplement companies, whether it's a protein powder or a pre-workout, and let's say you go through the list and you add up all the ingredients, the grams, and you end up with like a 10-gram ingredient list, but you have like a 15-gram scoop, and that always pisses me off.
Yeah.
I think, and just with the ingredients, it's just like with the quality ingredients and the right ingredients, like I get that most people don't have a degree in chemistry, but let's stop using bullshit things that don't do anything or aren't tested in humans. Like there's just no need for, and I'm not going to list all the crap, but there's probably more supplements on the market that are total junk than there are things that are worth taking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, like Robin, you brought up a good point. Like, I think a lot of companies are focusing on the taste because it sells more. Like, let's just like be real, it does sell more. But as a consumer, that's also something you should look into, is to look at the quality of the product, like Kurt was saying, like the actual composition of the product, and trying to, like, if you have to sacrifice a little bit of taste, just look at what is behind the label, And what I found a lot is people that are able to have good brands oftentimes is because they've been there. Like, you look at companies that have good products, oftentimes the company owner has either been a bodybuilder, been someone who's been in the industry at some point, or has been a coach, someone who knows what he's doing. And that I understand it takes a little bit of research to look in your thing, but if you're serious about like your results and your health, like it is something you should look into, because it is something important that I noticed a lot, is like oftentimes people like I'll give an example of Dorian, because I know Dorian well, but like he's been there, like he's competed himself, he's coached a lot of athletes, he knows what he wants in his products because he's going to use it himself, like that's kind of like the idea. And I've seen it a lot, like I haven't tried like the hostile supplements or whatever, but like that's another one. Like they're bodybuilders, people that have used it and have coached people, and they know what they want themselves.
Yeah, that's a really good point, man, for sure. Yeah, there's a huge difference
that
between.
doesn't.
Yeah, go ahead.
That I absolutely agree with you, Justin. I do want to see who's behind it as a consumer, right? You look at Hostile with Fuad, you look at Mutant, you know, they've been there, they've done that. Same thing with
Mhm.
HD. It's not always the case for me though. Look at a guy like Greg Doucette with his supplements, right? He has a
Yikes.
myriad of different exactly, right? He has a myriad of different products that are actually out there. And of course he's popular, he is controversial, he gets a lot of he gets a lot of hate because of that. And maybe that just translates over to his supplements, but I do find, am I getting a thumbs up from Kurt there?
Oh, am I frozen again?
The frozen thumbs up.
No, it's cool. Appreciate it.
What is it?
When it comes to Greg and his supplements, as a consumer, I actually don't want to try any of his products, even though he has been there and done that, because one, I think he pushes them a little bit too hard. And there are so many people out there that simply say that his supplements just don't work, like his Turk builder and things like that. Like it's often said snake oil, and he'll address it forwardly to his credit.
Yeah.
But if there's so many comments to that effect of, this stuff doesn't work, then I don't know. Now, with that being said, have I tried it myself? No. I think that you should be trying things yourself to see what works for you. But as a consumer, the way that he approaches it as well, even though he's been there and done that, does not make me want to try his products.
That's a good point.
I haven't seen the formulation of what they have, but
Yeah.
you have to
even
keep
beyond the formulation. I don't care about the formulation, to be honest with you.
Because it's even like, yeah, like what Kurt says, like you want things to be research and whatnot, right? For sure. And I'm sure you could find some type of research promoting the benefits of the turkesterone or whatever the hell. But like, come on, like, dude, like just because one research paper says that this thing works, you know what I mean? It's like I feel like that's where
but
that's
that's
actually
gonna
a good,
be
yeah, that's probably a good that's like a yellow flag of like supplement companies that are maybe in it for the wrong reasons. Because if you're putting out products, in my opinion, like a testosterone builder or like just like crazy fat burners or just 500 milligram pre-workout caffeine pre-workouts and stuff like that, then you're missing the point, because you're not like, this isn't something that a bodybuilder would sustainably use as a supplement to improve their performance. This is just, you can see through it. You can tell that this is just a way of making money. We've seen it time and time again. Greg is a good example. There's a bunch like him. And it's like, I feel like, people see through that shit. If you have to be the one that's always touting how great it is, then it's probably bullshit. Because if you have a good supplement, then other people will tell you how great it is. You know? So
I got involved in
companies
supplement.
Yeah, go forward.
I was just gonna say, I got involved in supplement companies in the early 90s, mid 90s with EAS. You guys probably don't even remember EAS with Bill Phillips. Like it was so long ago that Dan Duquesne actually worked there. And this was before the FDA looked at any of this shit. This stuff that we used to sell sometimes was ridiculous. In fact, we sold the original version that was called ectosterone back then. It was total garbage back then. It's total garbage now. All they did was change the name. It's like bug feces. It ain't gonna make you grow.
Oh, yeah. Like the arachidonic acid or whatever, like stupid bullshit like that,
Total shit.
Like
Chicken and rice, water.
Yeah, chicken and rice.
You'll be fine. Drink some caffeine.
Yeah. If I'm gonna support a supplement company, I don't want to feel like the owner is his only motivation is money, even though we all want to make money, right? So I'm not gonna say and act like you don't want to make money, but if everything from your content to literally everything about you screams that I want to make the most money possible. Like you guys are here doing a podcast, but you're doing it based off something you love. We just talk about bodybuilding, nice and simple, right? When all your content is like doing every kind of mainstream fad there is to try to just get clicks, that already tells me that you're not concerned about staying true to who you are necessarily. You just only want to get clicks. We all want to get clicks, like, don't get me wrong, but only within certain limits of our morals. If you don't care about any of that, that automatically makes me think, are you that same way with supplements? And it kind of seems to be similar. I don't know Greg that well, so I'm not talking shit. Just me personally, as like a consumer, that's not the kind of person I want to see owning a supplement company. I want to see somebody like Dorian, who is super passionate about what he did. He did it for a long time. He's everything he does shows me that he has good character and good morals. Like, I don't know Dorian super well. I know him kind of, but that's what I'm seeing. So that to me is important. Some people could say, well, it doesn't matter as long as supplements are good. That to me personally is important. And obviously having the effective doses of all the ingredients in all your products, that comes first for sure. But I also want to make sure that the owners actually care about this. That to me tells me a lot personally.
Yeah.
It's the people that you have behind that brand too, right? Because that can be an effect on the consumer as well. Another instance that I really did not want to try any of their products because of the person behind it. And no disrespect, it was just the way he was putting it out there. When Nick Trigili had his YouTube channel, and it was the what was the company? Old School? Oh, no,
Old School Labs.
Old School Labs. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the constant sales push every video. I almost made a video on how often he was pushing these products to the point where it just made me not even want to try them. And that was a company that was reputable. They didn't have these over the top, supplements that are out there like Turk Builder and things like that, right? It was your protein. They had a vegan protein. They had pre-workout, right? Great. But the push, I was like, man, like I don't even want to try it now, So it's also the person behind it as well, like Dorian, but the athletes that you have associated with it and how they are representing your brand, which is very important, right? And there are people on this podcast that do a great job of that, right? There has to be a balance in there, and an athlete representing a supplement company can be just as detrimental, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point. You definitely
be able to.
Yeah, you
You
definitely
gotta be able to read.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say you got to be able to read through the bullshit either way, because you could split it down the middle. I mean, you could throw PJ Braun in there, right? And then on the other side, you got John Meadows and Dante Trudell. Like, you should be
100%.
gotta be able to read through. You know what I mean? Like, who's gonna sell out, right? Because it's so easy in the supplement company to say, okay, I'll do this for X amount dollars back. You know what I mean? Like, cut a product, whatever. Like, people have done it, right? So is that person someone that you're gonna say, hey, I would bet my money that he probably won't do it or will? You know what I mean? Whereas like John Meadows, Dante Trudell, those two guys, you know what I mean? I feel pretty comfortable saying those guys when, you know what I mean, bend.
Yeah. There's only so many times you can advertise your fucking Fiberlize before people are just like, dude, that's enough. So
Yeah, and there's a reputable guy that actually did go out of his way to formulate the best products without even considering, the lowest price point, which a lot of companies will put at the first and foremost, right? So yeah, even that over and over again, it's like, oh man, I don't know.
Well, dude, like there's no doubt about it. It's very hard to start a supplement company because the market is super full already, and you got to have money to enter that market. I know somebody personally who tried to make a supplement company, and they invested over $500,000, and they were ready to go and had things pretty much ready to launch, and it just didn't happen. It just did not happen. So and it's sad, right? Because that's a lot of money, man. You know what I mean? And I'm sure there's many companies that we don't even know about that have gone through like a similar fate. Anyways, I want to ask you guys, what are your top 5 supplement must-haves? If you have only 5 supplements to pick from, which ones are you going to be having on a consistent basis? Let's go Justin first.
I honestly, like, if you're going in need, I would go with my health supplements. So I would go like magnesium.
Yeah, just for
zinc.
you, like you personally.
Yeah, that's what usually I use, like magnesium, zinc. I'll have a multivitamin, omega-3, so fish oils, and maybe like a D3 supplement or something like that. Like I'll for everything else, like I do use like protein, this is that, like a pre-workout, but it's not a need. Like that, I could use food for that. I mean, let's say in terms of supplements, I would go more for my health supplements.
What about you, BAIDI?
Number 1, I'll probably go Kratom, then Nubane, maybe some fentanyl.
Ooh, now we're talking.
No, you mean should we go like health supplements or performance?
How is that Kratom?
Yeah, anything.
How is that Kratom? I heard so much about it, man.
I haven't tried it myself, but for my friends who tried it, they seem to like it a little bit too
How
much.
is it in
Hey
your
man,
top
I was
five? You
gonna,
haven't tried it.
I was gonna say it seems because we talked about that before. And we had a lot of people reaching out. It seems like the people that like it really like it, and the people
They
that
like
don't
it
like
too.
it, they really don't like it because it was split down the middle, man. It's like some people like, oh man, like I love the white stuff. Some people are like, oh, the red stuff just gets me in the right mood. I'm like, oh damn, like people are serious. And there's some people like, do not touch that stuff. That stuff will ruin your life.
Yeah, yeah.
Only ever touch that stuff if you're trying to come off opiates. I'm like, damn,
It
people are
seems
really
to be
opinionated about
mixed.
kratom. Yeah.
Stu said he tried it and it felt great, but it felt too great. I'm nervous about that, man, because if I get in party mode, it's over for bodybuilding. I don't want to go back to party mode. No.
I know, man.
Always
I
Jay
know,
talking
man.
about-
See, that's always the risk, right? Is
where
that
Jay's like
How-
talking about
Mhm.
dominoes. Well, I don't know if I don't try it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I want to find out.
well, that's what happened with Nubain. I was
Right.
just joking earlier, but yeah, I mean Nubain, everybody was like, "Oh, it's perfectly safe." It obviously is different. It's different from kratom, but still, I mean, similar concept. People take it, they feel good, they don't think there's any issues, and they do it for the next 5 years, and
Problem is
maybe
like too is like when people like something like they can like it's like when you talk to a weed smoker, they're like, yeah, like weed is, you know what I mean? Like, and then you
Mhm.
talk to someone that doesn't smoke weed and they're like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? They're not on the same
yeah,
page.
yeah.
So it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
if you like that kratom, you're probably like, yeah, it's safe. It's all good.
It's dude,
perfect.
Super
Yeah,
hot.
I don't know if you guys
I
ever
give it to
heard
my
of
kid.
you guys ever heard of GHB?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
GHB.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so GHB was really popular here in Toronto for a long time. And probably more like 10 years ago. Like, I was like 21 and all the bodybuilders were doing GHB. And they're all talking about, GHB and how GHB used to be sold in, GNC and it's great for you take it before bed and you get like right into your REM sleep or your deep sleep and stuff like that. And so I'm taking that stuff all the time and I'm like, oh, this stuff is the best. Like I'm getting the best sleep ever. Like I would sleep like 4 or 5 hours, be ready to go smash weights. Like I just felt so good. And then I started getting into the party scene and realized like a lot of people party with this stuff, right? And like it just takes one time to have like a little too much and then you're just like totally turned off from it, right? Like, I went out, I partied,
Oh,
took some G, passed out. Like, apparently, I just went like fucking ham and just beat people up. Like, I have no recollection of it.
oh shit.
So I woke up like 8 hours later at the club, and they're like, "Yo, you just like mauled people," and I'm like, "No, that's not me," And they're like, "Yeah, you definitely mauled people, bro." And I'm like, "Damn, I
Damn.
can't believe." And so you know what I mean? It's just like I liked it a little too much, man. And it's just at first it seemed harmless, but then when I did more research, it's like there's no free lunch, man. Like with drugs, especially, you get something and it takes something. So
Yeah, yeah.
you have to understand that there's always a give and take with drugs.
If it
But yeah, I mean,
if
I don't think kratom's going to be in my top 5 supplements, but
no, not. I was just joking, but you guys want to go health supplements, performance, or either mix it
either
up?
Any,
or. Let's
man.
go.
Any.
Yeah, whatever you need, like whatever you take top 5 in the day, supplement wise.
I think I don't have the best immune system. I kind of have like respiratory issues. I had bronchitis. I was in the hospital when I was born with bronchitis. I've had pneumonia before as an adult. I almost died. I had COVID. Same thing. If I even get a common cold, I might be I might be out for 2 weeks. So multis. I always take quadruple dose multis, and I take quadruple dose vitamin C. So I take it probably like 4 to 6,000 vitamin C. So those I can't do anything without. I haven't been sick since COVID. I think I haven't been sick in like 4 years, which is a miracle for me. So I want to keep it that way. And then fish oil. I took a break from fish oil before, and then everything started hurting. My shoulders, my elbows, my knees, and I'm like, okay. So sometimes you don't realize how good something works until you don't have it. So I'll keep those three always in the rotation. Um, I wouldn't say protein powder, even though that's more performance, but it's just convenient for me. I don't like to carry meals everywhere I go, so protein powder makes it a little bit more makes my life a little bit easier in between meals and stuff like that. I can have my protein powder like cream of rice or oatmeal, and I can make a meal and without having to have like a cooler bag. That's four. Number five, maybe in prep, I want to say some kind of stimulant or pump part like a pre-workout. Because my pumps, I got to go really low carb, so my pumps aren't the best, and I have to do a shit ton of cardio, so my energy is not the best. So if I could have some kind of pre-workout, For myself, that's gonna help me in prep. So that'll be my top 5.
Yeah. What about you, Nate?
Can I say BPC?
Yeah, you can say that.
That's like a year-round maintenance thing now.
Yeah, that's like like dude, that's a staple.
I mean, I use glutamine every morning, so I'm used to that. So I'll say that one, and then I'll do like a D3 K2, and then krill oil is what I do right now, and then citrus bergamot. So I'll say that.
Tenzin.
Yeah. Protein is one for me for sure. For what I do and the crazy shit that I have to travel on a regular basis, things like that. Protein's got to be in there. I use it to cook too, right? Like it's essential for me when it comes to stuff like that. Pre-workout is something that I use on a regular basis. I love my pre-workout. I love trying different kinds of pre-workout. That's one thing, especially as being a natural guy. That's something that I can go to and continue to, try different kinds and switch things up. I enjoy my pre-workout. Creatine as well. I do take creatine on a regular basis. I do find that for me, it does make a noticeable difference. Not a huge difference, obviously. The typical difference you would expect from creatine, but for me, I do enjoy that as well. Multivitamin, definitely essential when it comes to that, and I use glucosamine too. That's something that I've gotten into, for what I do for a living, being a diver. That's something that I think is essential too. So for me, that's my top 5.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
Since you're natural, have you ever tried like a test booster that you found actually worked, that you felt?
The last time I tried a test booster, I was 21 years old, and I was probably like 5 years into, like training at that point. I was definitely intermediate, I would say, when it comes to training, but I don't think I was experienced enough to really notice a difference if it really did help. I can tell you that I don't think it made a difference. If I was to try it now, I would probably be more attuned to notice that difference, especially since I have everything else dialed in more so when it comes to, my supplementation, my dieting, things like that. But to answer your question at the time, no, I don't think it.
Okay.
I don't think it made a difference.
Dude, I took some test boosters when I was like 18, 19, like before I started using gear.
Me
And
too. I did a bunch of them.
oh, I loved those, bro. I remember there was this one, it was called it's called Drive. And I was like, oh, and it was behind the counter at
Yeah, it was D-ball, bro.
Nature's Emporium.
It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
Mine was the one I tried was
there
called
was no
it was
there's no
T-ball.
sticker. There was no sticker. It was just written with a Sharpie. That's what it was.
Yeah.
There's
It was like these little blue pills. No, it's like,
No.
dude, I used to
Well,
buy that, and then I would take it, and like this is when I moved to the city, and I started seeing this girl, and I would like pop a couple of those, go over to her house. I'd be like full of confidence. I'd be like, bro,
get
you know, whether or not it did anything or not, trust me, that placebo, it gave me all the confidence I needed. Because I was just like, bro, there's no chance that I'm not going in on this. Like, I got everything I need. I'm fortified, baby. I got that drive,
Similar to Robin, I think maybe in high school, maybe 16, 17-ish. I would take like tribulus extract. I would take ZMA.
Oh, I remember.
I would take
horny goat weed.
Oh man. But of course, me being a kid, I would take like, 5 times a dose. I'm like, if this boosts your test, I want to get 5 times the test. So let me take five doses. And I think just being a kid, I felt like it worked mentally. I don't know. I didn't see changes physically besides the change that I was already seeing because I just started working out. So you're gonna make gains regardless. And then your sex drive is gonna be through the roof because you're fucking 16. But in my head, I'm like, whoa, my sex drive is through the roof. And it's like, it kind of has to be. Like, what else would it be at 16? So I couldn't tell you if it worked, but if mentally I felt like Robert said, I felt fortified. Like this is gonna take me to the next level, and it felt good to take some shit and feel like it's gonna make you Ronnie Coleman. So
Yeah, you guys remember this brand? Goliath Labs. They had this one here called Ejaculoid.
Ejaculoid is crazy.
Natural male
That's crazy.
explosions. So they had this one. This one was beside Drive. but I thought that this was too extreme. I'm like, oh man, I don't want her to
That's
like,
too much
I don't want her to
to get.
drown or anything like that. Like, I don't want her to know I'm taking anything. So I was like, okay, I'll just stick with the safer one. Because I thought this one was like too extreme. Like,
They're gonna know, yeah. If you take too much tribulus, your parents are gonna notice the gains.
let's see what's in there.
You're gonna,
Ejaculoid. This is the best name for a test booster ever, by the way.
Dude, what the
Ejaculoid.
fuck?
Maca, tribulus. Yeah, like it's all pretty much
tribulus,
the
yeah.
same. Yeah, that GABA. See, the GABA is crucial. The GABA is crucial.
Oh yeah.
You know, so you don't have any of that game time
GABA,
stage fright, you know.
GABA takes it to the next level, you know.
Yeah.
Next level games.
Honestly, you know, top 5 supplements, GABA would probably be in there for me. You know, if I had to choose, I'd do an injectable one, but I'm also a huge fan of the Revive Calm product, which has like GABA and a bunch of stuff. Normally I'll just take like a GABA powder, or I'll do the Biolabs injectable day blend GABA. But if you have anxiety, someone who has anxiety, taking GABA is like really, really, really good for that. And also on a contest prep too, I find that if I take more GABA, more taurine, and more magnesium, then even though I'm on like, you know, Clanin T3 and stuff like that, then I can actually feel like a relaxed, not like an anxious energy. It's like a relaxed energy. So I feel like that's really crucial for me, just having something like that. A pre-workout though too, boys, like I gotta have my pre-workout, because on a contest prep, like I'll tell you, like today, like I said, like I fucking overslept, and I woke up and I was like really grumpy for like 5 minutes. And it honestly put me in a better mood, thinking like I'm gonna get to enjoy a pre-workout that I really like the flavor of. I know it's gonna give me like a good kick, like give my energy. So that's just something that I like to rely on, the placebo aspect. Not even really like I don't need a pre-workout, but I definitely fucking love it, man. Like I look forward to it, you know? So that's one thing. I could probably go without a protein powder, but I do like my hydrolyzed casein. Like for today, you know, late for a podcast, then I can do that instead of fish. Kidney HD, that's crucial. Like I really, out of all the HD products, that's probably the one that I use the most of, because you know, for big bodybuilders, man, you got to take care of your kidneys, otherwise you're gonna have issues with blood pressure, all that stuff. So that's going to be number one. And then last one's going to be like you guys said, the multivitamin, the Vita HD, which Vita HD is great. It kind of has pretty much everything. It's got your vitamin K2, your vitamin D, all that kind of stuff. And then unfortunately, I won't have room for fish oils, so I'm going to have to eat more sardines.
There you go. Old school.
Yeah.
Somebody was saying to eat like fish eggs for omega-3. I've never tried that, but
There we are.
you know, if you didn't have a fish oil supplement, you could always eat, you know, fatty fish. So I definitely agree with you guys. You because I noticed a big difference when I was eating a lot of salmon, and so I didn't need the fish oil, and so I stopped eating salmon and I wasn't taking fish oil, and then I noticed all my joint pain, or not all of it, but it did come back a little bit, and I did feel, what I did notice was maybe more brain fog and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm big on the omega-3s, and omega-3s, people often talk about how it's inflammatory, it's good for your body, but it's also really amazing for your brain, especially having a higher amount of EPA is really beneficial for people that have like kind of mood disorders and stuff like that. So like, in my opinion, one of the most crucial things to keep up with is that EPA count.
Speaking of your brain, Robin, you guys feel like being on gear all these years, you feel like it has made you a little less sharp mentally or more sharp?
Less.
What do you think, Kurt? What do you think, Kurt?
Probably depends on what you use. I
mean, I would say
depends.
So.
I'd say less.
I was a believe it or not, I know it's hard to believe, but I was a really smart kid in school, and I don't think I'm as sharp as I was back then.
You know, I think it's like I think it's like the sharpening of the brain is like, it's a tool that you actually fit, like not physically, but I guess physically, like you sharpen the brain with the things that you do. So, you know, if you're studying, if you're reading, if you're writing, if you're doing activities that are like outside of your normal comfort zone of habits and like disciplines, I feel like that's what's actually sharpening your brain, versus like, otherwise you're just patterning. Like I feel like brain patterning is like, that's what we're really good at as bodybuilders, is we can get into a routine like that. You know, like we say, okay, we're gonna like we were talking about Nate about the waking up at 5 a.m. As soon as we had that discussion, set my alarm. Now I'm in a different routine. I could pattern my brain pretty easily. But like you guys are talking about, it's like the dullness will happen just because we're not constantly activating those parts of the brain. We're eating, we're sleeping, we're training, we're podcasting, we're bodybuilding. Like we're not learning and reading and like stretching our brains out like we do our muscles. So I think that's honestly the biggest component, because dude, I've seen bodybuilders that are just like, they totally lost their fucking mind. Like they're just like, they can't even remember, like they come back from a workout and they're like, can't remember which locker they put their clothes in, and they're like checking different. I'm like, am I gonna be like that? Because that's scary, bro. Like this guy had like
me.
amnesia where his bag was, and I'm like, fuck, is that me in 10 years? But I think it's, again, it's like it's a choice. And with people that get like Alzheimer's and dementia, I think that's one of the major reasons, is because they're just so narrow-minded in the things that they like continue to do, So I think we talked about that a little bit before, but it's like, you have a center of your brain that works with math, center of your brain that helps you read, and there's different levels to that, just like there is with bodybuilding. So yeah, it's interesting that out of all the things that we can do in our life, most things are going to be like bad for your brain. You know what I mean? Like training heavy weights and like being really huge and putting all the stress on the body, like that's not good for your brain. You know what I mean? But also like a lot of academics, they're super, super brilliant people, but they work in different ways. Like they're not as consistent about how they work over the course of a year. Like they have like periods of time where they work really, really intensely, and they have periods of rest. Almost like old school bodybuilders that would prep and then take 6 months off. It's just different ways of using your brain, I think. What do you think, guys?
Honestly, I think you got a good point. Like I think and this is something that I think keeps me more sharp, is working with clients, doing that kind of research, that because doing what we're doing as a bodybuilder is not something that's going to keep me sharp, right? But when I'm working with clients, and now I started doing this mentorship program where I'm actually teaching other coaches, that's something that keeps me sharp, because now I have something to show someone else, right? I'm trying to and keep my vocabulary and all that stuff, so that someone understands what I'm saying and a lot of that stuff. And even if it's knowledge that you've had before, just explaining it, like Kurt would probably say, like I hear him talk sometimes on the podcast, whatever, and just by elaborating what you're talking about just puts you back in that sense. If it's knowledge that you already have, you go and fetch it back, and you start talking about it. And that's kind of like a part where sometimes when you don't use it, you feel like, fuck, I'm getting dumber, you know what I mean? But it's not that it's just that you're not using it. But sometimes I'll start talking with someone and, oh fuck, that was there also, like you're able to go back and stuff that you've learned before, you're starting to get it back too. So I think, yeah, what you're exposed to, obviously, if that's all you do is eat, train, and sleep, yeah, you're gonna start like getting to a point where you're not really like cultured, because that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
They
I
found
think you have to be challenged in different ways. I think it comes down to challenges.
Yeah.
Challenges is what pushes you to go outside of that comfort zone and go to those different places mentally. And even if, like you said, Justin, it is areas that you are familiar with at one point, but you haven't stretched that part of your brain in a while, right? You're activating different part of your brain in that way, right? When it comes to long-term memory and having to go back and remember these things, look at it again, research it again, familiarize yourself with it again. Those are common practices that, aside from eat, sleep, train, those are things that you guys do all the time as it is, right? So although that is a challenge when it comes to the changing of the diet, and especially getting down to those very low body fat percentages, it's something that you guys have done before. It's something where you've been there before. Is it still a challenge? Yes. But is it really outside of your comfort zone? Yes, it is. But at the same time, no, it's not. You know what I mean? So I think it does come down to daily challenges as well.
Yeah,
What,
I agree.
Kurt, I'm interested to know what you think, man.
Well, so with what Justin said, to show that he's totally right about that, they found with like standardized testing, like in the USA, that you have the SATs to go to college. They found that if we were all to go back and retake them, we would most likely score much higher on the English part than we did in high school, but our math scores would be atrocious because most likely you don't use that math. So for me, it's kind of the opposite, because I spend half my day doing math and chemistry. So I'm really good with like the silly stuff that no one else looks at, but I might not be good at like day to day, like you were saying, like I probably forget where I put my keys or my phone. You know,
Yeah.
like I'll forget really, like I can look at a molecule and tell you exactly what it's doing, but I'll forget, you know, I'm wearing the same thing every day, like stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
Basically, the part of your brain that you use gets sharper. What you don't use, you kind of lose it, right?
Yeah.
I'm definitely wiser. I'm a wiser man. I make better life choices. I have a lot more experience. I'm a lot more street smart. I understand people a lot more. I'm better at talking. I'm better at communication. Emotionally, I'm more in tune with my emotions. I can kind of like communicate that. But like I'm not as book smart. I used to go like talk about something. I would read up on every ingredient. I know what every ingredient meant. I know what it did. I know how it works in the body. Same with bodybuilding. I could tell you, every bone in your body, every muscle, psoas and this and now I'm not that sharp when it comes to the book smart, but I'm a lot smarter. I mean, I'm a lot wiser as a man because I guess just living life longer and being older, you're gonna get wise because you're learning and you're speaking to people. So like you said with English, I'm a lot better talker. I'm a lot better communicator. I can hold conversations. I know how to talk to a woman better and all that kind of stuff, right? So how to network or everything like that. But book smart, I don't absorb things like a sponge like I used to at one point. But also, I don't know if your brain has a capacity, but there's so much on my mind. I don't have that much room to be just soaking up all this information because my brain is like on 99% full by now.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point too, because I mean, thinking about like the brain, the capacity of the brain, there's definitely there's only so much it can be filled up with, and then you also have to deal with the ability of memory recall, which like you were alluding to, Justin, talking about. You guys are saying, when you're teaching something, you're using that memory recall, so it's coming back and you're rewiring that stuff. That's really important when you teach people. That's one of the best ways to learn stuff. But this is such an interesting conversation too, because I mean, I feel like a lot of people are really into like getting their brain like optimized, but they have no idea how to do that. They just think, well, I'm just going to take a bunch of nootropics and like stuff like that. But this is actually a topic that I'm pretty like I feel like pretty heavily about it. Like because I've had clients who've struggled with things like ADHD, depression, things like this, and they seek like pharmaceuticals in order to help them with that. I believe there's definitely a better alternative through taking like a herbal supplement or a nootropic, or just simply like doing the habits that are again going to sharpen your brain and help you achieve that focus. Because one of the most disappointing and upsetting things that I witness is when someone will take an ADHD medication like Adderall, they'll go to the gym and they'll just repeat the same habits that they had before. Now they're on their phone and they're distracted and they're talking. The only thing is they're just doing it from a more stimulated perspective. So they have not changed their ADHD at all. They're just masking it. And I find that really upsetting because it's hard to have a conversation about someone. It's like, hey, before you start your medication, this is like kind of how I would have you set up your habits. I would start by using that hour in the gym to put your phone away and just practice focus. Can I have this 1 hour? And I would make that the goal for the day. Like, okay, throughout my day, I got to work and I'm on the thing and I'm all over the place and using all my brain. But now I'm here at the gym. My goal for today is to have 1 hour of focus. And I'm going to put my phone down. I'm going to train. And 1 hour later, then I can go back to that routine. And I think that would be so crucial to help people sharpen their mind, get over ADHD and things like that. But fucking people don't want to do that. It's like, no, just give me the pill. So whatever.
And also I want to get onto something, because you were saying, how can I increase my sharpness and how can I increase how I'm responding to different stimulus? But actually, and this, I'm not going to get onto like a huge subject, but actually what you're putting in your mouth, like everything that you're, in terms of your nutrition, does affect also how your brain chemistry works. So if you're using, and this is something that I'm teaching students, right? So in terms of like what targets your drive. So when we're talking about neurotransmitters and what's happening in your brain when you eat certain foods. So if you're eating like a very high fat diet, or you're just combining the healthy fatty acids with the carbohydrates you're eating in your day, that'll actually have more of an effect on dopamine, where like you'll have a lot more stimulus in terms of drive when you're getting in the gym, in motivation when you're just thinking about stuff. And in the other senses, like if you're eating a lot of carbohydrates and a lot of sugar, that usually will target out your serotonin levels, right? So serotonin is going to be kind of like a hormone that are going to get you into like a lethargic state, right? So like that's all kinds of things that like it's easy to kind of like fix your diet and stuff and see what actually works for you and making sure that it keeps you sharp, because these are things that I coach. When I coach athletes, I don't just coach bodybuilders, right? I coach people that are in school. I coach people that have, you know, different jobs than just us that are, let's say, coaching. So they need to be sharp, right? It's not just about how big can I get, but it's actually like how, and this is something like in bodybuilding, a lot of people are like removing fats because it's just stuff that are like not necessarily in terms of building muscle, but like if you actually break it down and what it actually does on your brain, it does have an effect. So those are all things that like are important to understand. And like I said, like it's certain things that is very easy to fix to make sure that you're a lot more sharp, you know. So we talked about all the things that what you're exposed to, but your nutrition has a big impact in that too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Kurt,
Robin,
Kurt, I think you just posted something about that, about the keto.
yeah, I
Yeah.
just sent it to you right now,
Yeah.
so you could repost it. So
Send it
yeah,
to me?
just,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
you want me to send it to you? I can send it to you, Justin.
No,
Yeah.
but if are you gonna put it up? Just put it up.
Yeah.
Can you pull it up?
Yeah, I'll pull it
No,
up.
it was a thread on just the difference between a keto diet and a standard carbohydrate, what it does with the like just what you were saying. Just because some guys, like as we coach, right, we have guys that react. It'd be great if everyone ate the same stuff, but like unfortunately not everyone reacts to the same thing. And like sometimes it's mental.
Yep.
Right. Like I feel horrible on a keto diet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's something, because I've studied a little bit of like the neurochemistry of how your brain works, and you're depending on certain people, your neurotransmitter dominance is going to be different, right? So
Yeah.
what you're going to be putting in your mouth is going to be different for each person, and the reaction of how you feel is going to be different also. So like I had one of my buddies that I was coaching, and he's a big guy, you know, but he had to have something, not necessarily keto, but something that was very high in fats, right? And in my case, high carbohydrates works. Like I have energy, I'm in the gym, I'm pushing hard, this is that, but not everyone reacts that way. And you know, then there's also things on how it works on your grip strength and all that kind of stuff. Like there's other variables that it does affect, but just in terms of how your brain works, yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that you have to look into. And but I know that it's not a common knowledge thing, you know, so it's hard, but having a coach that's with you that knows what he's talking about, that's super valuable.
Yeah. No, that's actually, this is a cool thing for sure. When I was working with Ben Pekulski, he had me do like a fats and protein only meal pre-training. And I had actually did that from 2019 to 2021. And I had always really, really good workouts, because I work out early, 6 a.m. So my first meal was like a couple of eggs and, you know, chicken and maybe some veggies, or it'd be like some beef, bison, something like that, but always protein and high fats. And I definitely noticed like there was a big difference between having like a lot of carbohydrates pre-workout and having a lot of just fats and protein pre-workout. I definitely noticed that I had a lot of strength, I had a lot of energy, and I would still have like strength and energy if I ate carbohydrates, but it's the way that your brain feels. Like I felt
Yeah,
awake,
exactly.
I felt
Yeah.
alert and awake, and I didn't need to have as much caffeine to get that awake feeling. Whereas there's no doubt about it, man. Like when you consume a lot of carbohydrates pre-workout, you feel tired and sluggish going into the gym. You know, especially when you're already eating a lot of food, or if you're already very sensitive to insulin, like on a contest prep. And I think it worked so well because I would have my protein and fat pre-workout, and then I would train, and then I would have like a nice big carbohydrate meal post-workout. Then I would be all full of serotonin and have a good nap. And then I would do that same thing again at night. And then at night I would have that big carbohydrate meal and go to bed. So a lot of people are scared, okay, well, I want to have all my carbs early in the day and have my fat and protein carbs, or have my fat and protein meals later at night. But we flipped it, and that's what Ben Pekulski was having me do. And I was like, I mean, you know, I'll fucking give it a try, and I liked it a lot. So there's definitely there's different ways to skin a cat for sure, you know. And I think, you know, people they think like it's all or nothing too. Like if you have a keto diet, then you have to eat all protein and all fats. But there's also like a cyclic keto diet, which makes sense too, and you just have carbohydrates around when you need them. And you know, I think that's really where like getting the right diet for you comes into play, and having a coach that can help you get there. Because otherwise you're like, okay, well, I have to pick keto, or I have to pick paleo, or I have to pick high carb. It's like, no, just find the balance of the foods that work best for you, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Let's should we get into some listener questions real quick
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're an hour and a half in, so it's good. Let's see. We got a bunch. Where are they at? Right here. Okay. Do you guys ever get the flu or cold-like symptoms on cycle? I'm on my first cycle and I'm sick AF.
I mean, it can happen, but no, usually it doesn't happen as much for me. It's happened before, but I mean, I don't necessarily attribute it to the fact that I started my cycle. Again, like when you're starting a cycle, you're going to have a fluctuation in your hormones, right? So sometimes that could maybe put you more at risk of catching something. But again, you have to be exposed to something, right?
Yeah. And yeah, for sure. I mean, I think one thing I've noticed that before, and I feel like those are labs that maybe have had bacteria in them or something bad like that. Also, you have to think about, it's like an added stress to your body. So if you're already stressed out and like on the verge of getting sick, or you don't have a great immune system, or just shit's going on, and then you start stabbing yourself with a needle and adding all this foreign substance to your body, like, yeah, dude, like your body's gonna have some kind of response to this, right? So yeah, I think a lot of that would probably be like the histamine allergic response. Is that true, Kurt?
Yeah, I mean, you're not like that term like test flu that people talk about.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen on your first cycle. That's like, you're like, you generally see that when guys get in the grams of things. That's like you said, it's something could be wrong with the gear. Most likely he's just sick and it just coincided with the start of his cycle.
Yeah.
I mean, how long? I'm doing gear a long time. I've never gotten sick from gear ever.
Yeah.
So most likely it's not directly related to the steroids. It's related to, he's just probably sick. You could do labs. In the first section of the labs is all your immune stuff. You'll see stuff elevated if you're sick.
True. Yeah.
I keep hearing about that test flu thing. I always hear it from like younger guys though, like teenagers or like really young adults. I've never felt any flu from taking tests.
Yeah. It's just if you get, so you have androgen receptors on the surface of your cells. They're called surface membrane receptors. If you inject an amount of drugs that supersedes the amount of available androgen receptors inside the cell, it'll hit those receptors. And those are the immediate things that you get when you inject, like strength, aggression. There's no protein synthesis, but like if you go over, like if you can tolerate 3 grams of gear and you inject 10 grams of gear right now, you're going to get all sorts of weird side effects, organ stuff, brain stuff. That's all that is when people shoot past what they should be doing. Right. So yeah, it's probably young kids who like, yeah, I'm going to start my first cycle with 900 milligrams of test, and they clearly can't handle that amount when they should be at like 300 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like guys our age, I mean, realistically, how much would you have to use to get, especially testosterone? I can't even imagine a whole bottle.
I feel like it's a myth. Would you guys prefer in a workout to have a small number of movements or many movements? So let's say
small. Well, I think that really depends on the person, because I personally like to see progression on a certain lift. So I think for me, I don't necessarily need a myriad of variation, but I know for certain people they get bored if they don't have enough. Like I think it really depends, man. But for me personally, I prefer to have let's say 3-4 exercises, but really, really like push and work on the techniques on those movements and actually give my all, than having like 8 different exercises for a certain muscle group,
Yeah. What about you, Nate?
I think it depends on the body part for me. Like quads, I honestly do like 4 movements, but I might sit on something for a while. I might be on the hack squat for a good minute or whatever, a leg press for a good minute. But for something like back, I might have more like 6 movements in there. You know what I mean? So I think for me, it really depends on the body part, and like chest is a little bit lower, delts a little bit less, so.
Yeah. I feel like we're all kind of like that. Like, we're not going to do fucking 2 exercises, but we're not going to do 10. So I feel like it's probably going to be like between 4, 6 with us, maybe 7 on a crazy day.
When I was younger, when I was like in my early 20s, I would do sometimes 6 to 8 exercises, and I would still go pretty heavy, pretty intense. But back then, you know, I was just full of energy. My recovery was through the roof. Nowadays, I'm sore, I'm tired, I'm hungry. I just want to get out of there. But I want to push some weight and get out of there. So these days, on a good day, 4, probably 4. When my calories are really low and I really feel like shit, sometimes I might just do 3. You know, basically what I feel like I can handle. I might even go 5 if I'm feeling phenomenal. But then sometimes I just pay for that by the end of the week. So I try to keep it 4,
Yeah.
just two, maybe 3 working sets max, but all to failure or past failure, and that usually gets the job done.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Usually
honestly
good for 5.
prefer to
I'd
hit
say
it
I'd
back
say 5.
again. I
Do
honestly
what?
prefer to like have less volume in one session and hit it like later on the week another time,
Yeah,
to be honest.
Mhm.
You know, like I'll
yeah,
have like let's say like on 5 days I'll have 2 back sessions. So I'll do like 4, and then I won't do the same 4 when I do my other back session, but you see what I mean? Like on that period of time, I'm still hitting the same amount of volume. It's just
Yeah.
that I'm not necessarily just focusing on one day, and I feel like I can focus a lot more on those movements.
Mhm. Yeah, it definitely depends on the
yeah,
body part. Yeah, for back, you're gonna need like a bunch of exercise for your traps. You're gonna need a bunch of exercise for your lats. Makes sense to split that up. Legs too. It's like, yeah, Nate, like you said, like I'm doing that same quad day. It's 4 quad exercises. I'm smashed from that. But then it's like, then I have a hamstring day, and I need to have another 4 exercises for my hamstrings, the other half of my legs. So arms, same thing. You need like 3, 4 exercises for buys. Okay, 3, 4 exercises for tries. Like that's it's a bit of a longer day. It doesn't take that much time because they're easy and you can superset them. But it's like, yeah, I'm still gonna put in probably 3, 4 exercises for every body part. Shoulders, at least 4, arms, 3 each, biceps, tries, calves, 2 or 3, abs, 2 or 3, quads, 4, pecs, 4, traps, 4. Everything's 4, baby. Hit everything 4 sets. You look like me.
I think the worst thing to see for volume wise though is people abusing arms and doing way too many exercises for arms. You know what I mean? Like you'll see guys in there doing 6, bi movements, and it's like, bro, you've been cold for like 20 minutes ago. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
think that's where people go like way too much volume is on the arms. You know what I mean? Where like more frequency is definitely gonna be better because it's a smaller body part too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but when it comes to frequency, my thing is that more bullshit doesn't lead to results, right? Imagine you take a girl out on a shitty date. If you take her out 5 more times that week on more shitty dates, she's not gonna like you anymore, right?
She'll
She's
like you
just
less
more
each time.
exactly. So if I watch you train legs and you're doing quarter reps and ego lifting and just this all bad, and you say, you know what, my legs aren't growing. Let me try training twice a week. The truth is that you don't need to train twice a week. You just need to get better workouts. So same thing with the volume. If you tell me, oh, I do 30 sets for legs, I'm like, no, you don't. Because you're not doing 30 working sets. Maybe you want to count your warm-ups or you're just not training hard enough. How the hell could you do 30 working sets for legs? You couldn't. So sometimes when we hit it, the volume, it just means you can't really brag with volume because that might actually mean that you have to train harder, right?
Yeah.
So
Honestly,
that's how
I feel like
you know.
a lot of the guys that are younger and still need like more mass and stuff like that, like they should even maybe be doing like the German volume training, stuff like that, where you just focus on you just do like your squats, you just do like 10 sets of 10 for squats. That shit
Yeah.
is really mentally and physically challenging. Like I used to do that quite a bit, and like especially when I was younger, I used to do a lot of 10 by 10 squats, and it's mentally tough to get through 10 sets because by the time you get through 5, you're like, I'm fucking done with squats. But
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you do it, it does pay off, man. You will get good at squatting, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like if you're not a good squatter and you're like, you know what, fuck it. I'm 16, I'm not a good squatter, I'm lanky legs, whatever excuse you want, then you're gonna abandon the barbell squat. You're just gonna do leg extensions, leg press, whatever, fucking hack squat. Like, dude, just go to the 10 by 10 squats at that point, and then use the
Yeah.
machines later. That's probably what I would say. In that case, I would say small number of movements is going to be king because that person
Yeah.
that doesn't have a lot of skill in training just needs to work on the skill of the squat, skill of the bench, the skill of the deadlift, pull up, all that shit.
That's also part of why that's also part of why I needed more sets when I was younger. Like I said, right, I did more volume because I wasn't good at connecting with my muscle. My form wasn't that good. I couldn't even get a good pump until I did, pretty much like, I don't know, 3-4 working sets. So at that point, going super heavy to failure wasn't enough for me because I didn't have that mind muscle connection and my form wasn't good enough. So being younger, just doing more sets to try to get better at the exercise can actually, like Robin said, can actually be beneficial. Because my squats and deadlift look like shit. So the more practice I got with it, the better it got. And then I was able to get more out of less later on.
Yeah,
That's a-
exactly.
that's
Or
a
even
good
like
point.
yeah, go ahead, Nate.
I was just gonna say that's a good point because like let's say 3 years ago I couldn't do quads for 4 exercises. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
you're definitely making sense because like now like I can create such an exertion like knowing all the stuff that I know now. You know what I mean? And like my repetitions are perfect. Like my tempo is perfect. Like pretty much I can create the most stimulus that I've ever been able to do in my life. You know what I mean? With all the time that I've been doing this and trial and error and whatnot, right? So you have a great point there. You don't need to, we've all pretty much been doing this for like 10 plus years, you know what I mean? So at this point, like we've learned how to connect on every level that we can, you know what I mean? And we continue every year, but
Yeah. And you can
Pretty-
get there faster too, right? Like,
Oh.
like when you're young, it takes you a lot of sets to, like when you're doing leg extensions, you could do like 1, 2, 3 on your third set, you're ready to go ham. When you're younger, it takes more trial and error to get into like locking it in for that set. So and plus, not to mention like how much weight you're using versus before and all that stuff. Just it's way more of a stress fatigue management when you're big and really strong. So
well, I think too, that's why sometimes people don't understand when we talk about how important rest is. And like sometimes I have to break it down for people why sometimes I need 3 rest days in a week. It's like, bro, I'm like 290 pounds, like the way I train. And it's so hard to describe to people, like they just don't understand like the way we train is like on a whole different level, like even mentally, just everything, the connection. Like, so it's hard to break that down to other people when they're like, yeah, but I go to the gym and I train. It's like,
yeah.
no.
Or they'll just be like, well, this guy lifts that much, and you're just like, okay.
Again, I'll even say like this is like, okay, Nick Walker is like king of execution, and then like I'm here, and then these other, you know what I mean? So it's like even I look at people that are still above me, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but like you look at Nick, and it's like that dude has perfect execution with the perfect weight, like, you know,
Yeah.
that's a talent, right?
Yeah. Hadi Chupan, same thing. Like when I watch him train, like no matter how much weight he's got on that bar, like he's controlling that shit and he's got that mind muscle connection.
Yeah.
I can't tell. I can't tell if that's a joke or he's serious.
For Kurt, do GLP-1 agonists like tirzepatide cause pancreatitis or dysbacteriosis, and why?
What?
Directly?
Go ahead, Kurt.
No. What? This is kind of a strange question.
Yeah.
Like trying to stump you. No.
No, I mean,
Yeah, really though.
is it like a known side effect? It might be. It's a minor one. Why and why? So there's, I feel like by the question they're saying it does.
I've never even heard of that.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I mean,
Can you say that? Can you repeat that question, please?
you know, like
Bros here.
these peptides, like similar like
Ozempic.
Ozempic stuff, the tirzepatide, GLP-1 agonists. Like this is just, in my opinion, this is stuff that bodybuilders don't need or even care about.
When they're saying it causes gut dysbiosis.
Yeah. So I'll tell you like who uses like tirzepatide, like my stepdad does, because he's a type 2 diabetic. Like, you know, that's why he's using that stuff.
No, but the other thing about these drugs is the way, I'm just going to watch my mouth so I don't get in trouble. The way the drugs are pushed through with approval now, they use like algorithms. They don't do the same testing that they did years ago. We're still learning about a lot of these drugs. Like they just found out I don't know if you've heard the term Ozempic, baby. So these GLP things seem to affect the HPTA axis in some way. So it's like, we're not even sure the mechanism of half of these drugs anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but gut dysbiosis, no. I mean, it can cause all sorts of issues. I'm not a fan of those drugs unless it's needed. I mean, I would rather put someone on metformin, over Ozempic or Wegovy. But
Yeah, I've seen a couple people already having like bad side effects. I don't know much about it either, but like I've already seen, yeah, it seems like so new and like already like I think like a lot of people with like kidney infections and stuff like that. It's like,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan. So like,
Yeah.
it's just very different now than it was for
Yeah.
approval on
And
things.
that's what I mean. Like this is a medication that should be used like kind of as a last resort. Like I said, my stepdad already type 2 diabetic, tried other medications like metformin. It didn't keep him. It didn't keep his blood sugar in range. This does, and so that it makes sense for him because even though there might be potentially side effects, whatever side effects there are, you know, having his blood glucose run high all the time is worse in for him, right? So again, the drugs, you get something, you take something, so you have to figure out, is this even worth taking? Because a lot of people are just jumping on like an Ozempic or a tirzepatide because they just want to be leaner and burn some fat, and they want things to be easier. They want their appetite to go down, and they don't want to have to worry about being hungry. But that's not the reality, guys. Like you need to be hungry. Like that's a good thing. It's a good thing to be hungry. Your body needs to be hungry sometimes.
If it did cause like gut dysbiosis or something, it would be because it does change the way the gut empties. It does change motility. That's part of the reason why it keeps you full all the time. But like that specifically, I mean, if you look up the side effects of these drugs, there's hundreds.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Almost anything that you consume is gonna change the bacteria in your gut. Even a metformin will too. So, you know.
Yeah, and
I did.
and I stay away from diet. My specialty is in androgen metabolism, so I don't like outside of stuff that I had to learn on diabetes. I stay away from diabetes.
Yeah,
Not my thing.
yeah.
I did. I actually did Ozempic, like my last prep for USA's. So from my experience, okay. So first of all, why did I do it? Do I need Ozempic to get in shape? No, but I usually have to get down below 1,500 calories. So anything I could do to kind of keep myself a little sane, you know, I was open to try it. So I tried it. I'll say I definitely felt bloated. I felt a little bloated. So, okay, you're less hungry. Why are you less hungry? It literally felt like it was taking me forever to digest the food, and that's not really a good thing for a bodybuilder, you know. So you do want to clear the food. Was I less hungry? Yes, but when you're on 1,500 calories at 300 pounds, you're still hungry. So being 20% less hungry is not going to stop you from cheating on your diet. What's going to stop you cheating from your diet is wanting to be Mr. USA, like discipline. Yeah. I want this title, so I'm not going to cheat. So I'm not going to cheat regardless if I'm hungry or not. Was I less hungry enough to warrant me spending, I don't know, $100 every couple of weeks? No. So I wouldn't do it again just because it didn't really change much. Besides, I felt a little bloated, a little less hungry, but I was still hungry as fuck. So
do you guys have any tricks for killing appetite on a prep? Because that's a good question. Then, like, do you have
water,
anything?
caffeine, spinach?
Yeah,
You beat a whole bag of spinach. I mean, from a so like I'm basically full-time coaching now. That's all I do. So from a coach's point of view and from a form bodybuilding point of view, the hunger thing's unfortunate, but like you said, in bodybuilding, it's part of it. The reason why you guys are successful is because you can go to that dark place that most humans can't go. So if you can't tolerate that, you're never going to win. Like we got to get the fat off every single place in your body. You're going to be hungry. There is no drug that's going to stop that hunger. That's in your head, right? You want to win. I know you do. That's
I agree.
You know, and so I won't put my name on someone that's, if they're complaining, they're asking. I have guys that ask for refeeds every 3 or 4 days. Like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Like my stepbrother is Muslim and he follows Ramadan, and they go the whole day without eating, even though they're hungry, and they do that for what is it, like a month?
Yeah.
You know, and I was asking him like what it is, what's special about that like that experience, and he says, you know, it helps you to realize your habits and appreciate the things that you do in a different way. Like for example, he was using the example of just drinking tea. He's a professor, so when he's working, he's just drinking tea all day long. Like we do a lot of these unconscious habits, we just do them. They're just habits. Like you wake up in the morning, you start your pot of coffee, like these things. Now, when you don't have the ability to do that, you start thinking of, so going back to like the patterning in the brain and sharpening your brain. Like this is another way of sharpening your brain because you're sharpening your discipline tool. It's like, oh, it's coffee time or it's food time. Nope, it's not. I have to change now. I have to do something else. Replace that habit with XYZ. So that's cool. I mean, that's definitely going to be good for your brain, and it's also going to be good for your body. Just, you know, maybe not for bodybuilders, but Hassan Mustafa does it And my stepbrother was saying that he follows Hassan for the same reason, because he draws a lot of inspiration for the fact that he can do Ramadan even while he's professionally bodybuilding. So that, you know, someone like my stepbrother can look at that and be like, oh wow, he has it even harder. And so that helps him to go through that. I think that's awesome. I think that's really cool.
I was raised Muslim as well, so I did Ramadan till maybe like I was a teenager, and then I stopped doing it. But yeah, these people, they're going to work. They're doing, you know, there's people in the NBA. Kyrie Irving is doing Ramadan, and he played. He didn't take one sip of water, one sip of Gatorade that whole game. He dropped like, I don't know, 40 points or something like that. It takes a lot of mental strength. But same with bodybuilding. Like, we're not doing Ramadan, but we're starving for the most part. And you know, there's really no other way. Like Kurt said, there's literally no other way. I've tried it all because I have to go so low in food and high in cardio. I'm like, there has to be a different way. I have to be able to find some fat burner or some trick, and I've tried it all. There's no way around it. You got to suffer. Whatever suffering means for you, it doesn't matter. So somebody's suffering might be 30 minutes of cardio, but it's suffering to them. You know, Stu can eat 300 carbs and do 30 minutes of cardio, but he's still suffering. I can see it in his face. So it's irrelevant what you have to do, but you have to get it done. If you can't, you won't be in shape. There's no diuretic. There's no fat burner. Like I said, I've already tried it all. And the end result is I still have to suffer my ass off, or I'm not going to be in shape. So if you can't do that, then you're just never going to win. It's that simple. Might as well.
I always tell my clients when they mention being hungry, or they start to get like a mindset negative about being hungry, I try to flip it and just look at the positives of being hungry. First of all, you know that your body's liberating fatty acids. You're getting leaner when you're hungry. The hungrier you feel, the leaner and more shredded you're going to be. Being hungry also means that you're potentially detoxing. You're in a more fasted state. Your body's releasing growth hormone. Like, there's a lot of good things that are happening from this. So if you can try to flip the switch, because that's the problem with it, is that with the hunger signal, and it creates a negative feeling, and you're trying to quell that feeling with food, or, you know, to try to find something to dissociate yourself from that. And there's many different tricks, but essentially you're just going around the fact that in the end you're still going to be starving, like you said. And so you just have to find some type of way to make it feel positive for you. Going back to your goal, like, that's always a good thing. Like, that's how we all get fucking through it. It's like, okay, we need to be shredded for the stage. And so when you're going through that experience, just remind yourself, before you start complaining about being hungry, just remind yourself, like, I'm choosing to do this. I have control over, like, the fact that I get to still eat like 4, 5, 6 meals a day. And it's also like, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to be hungry sometimes. Because then the other contrast is when you're stuffed and full all the time, right?
Yeah,
that's not nice either.
Yeah.
Something I think about is like, and I would do that or try to explain to people, is like, if I'm going to get on stage with you guys, I know that you're all dieting your ass off. So if I don't diet, you're all going to beat me. Like, I think everything I don't do, like, you don't do that one set of something, right? You're tired. You're like, I'm going to skip calves today, or you're not going to do abs. You're not going to do cardio. You can eat a little extra rice. All that shit you do is your opponent's not doing that.
Yeah. It's called progressive laziness.
They're going to screw you. Right?
Progressive laziness. And it's like, because you get bigger, so then you stop doing the hard cardio, and you get bigger, and, you know, you stop doing the free weights, and everything is just finding ways to make things easier. You know? So yeah.
My
one coach, my first coach, one thing he told me, he's like, never sit if you can stand, never stand if you can walk, never walk if you can run. If you want to be lean, just keep moving. Always just keep moving. Right. So that was always like, and I was like, okay, when I'm bulking, I'm like, never run when I could walk, never walk when I could sit, never.
Well, look how privileged we are that we get to starve for fun and then complain about it. You know,
yeah, exactly.
And like, we're in the position that we're healthy enough and financially stable enough that we can pay $300 to compete for entry fee, that we can afford these hotels. You know, where there's people down the block right now in LA that they don't get to go home and sleep. They don't get to eat when they want to. They're starving, but not by choice. They're starving because they don't have any fucking food. So we're privileged. We have first world problems. We get to sit here and complain about all the easy shit in life and how hard life is. But at the end of the day, if you're privileged enough to get to starve for fun and work out, then it's not that bad. You don't really got it that bad. Trust me.
Let's do one more. Let's see. When cardio increases during dieting, how do you manage the extra fatigue? I just take more naps. Man.
Yeah,
You know?
naps help. Sometimes I nap in the car. I'll
Yeah.
get to the gym and then recline the seats, nap for an hour, get back up. There's really no way around it. If you train really hard, sometimes you have to pull back. You know, don't deadlift 700 pounds if you're having a hard time recovering. That's something I kind of have to learn. That yeah, I like training heavy.
I'm a huge fan of those pre-workout naps, bro. Those are amazing.
Clutch.
Those are amazing. Yeah.
For the clutch, yeah.
You know, I
On
would, and that's,
prep,
isn't that the one thing too, is like you sometimes it's tricky because you don't want to take a nap pre-workout because you're like, I don't want to be tired. And I know if I take a nap, I'm gonna wake up feeling groggy. But every time you take that pre-workout nap, you have a good workout, you know?
yeah.
So it's
Well,
worth it, man.
Yesterday, I went a little too long. I napped for like 2 hours in my car. That was a bit much. So when I woke up, I didn't know what world I was in. I didn't know what country I was in. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah,
But
that's what I told the boys that happened to me today. I laid down at like 11:30 or something like that, and I woke up it was like 3 o'clock, and I was supposed to train at 1:30.
yeah.
But I had a good workout though. You know, you need to rest sometimes, and so you listen to your body. You have to listen to your body when you're pushing yourself like that.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. That's probably the most important lesson I learned in prep. Instead of trying to do more, because my idea was like I need to burn fat, so more sets, more reps, more exercises, more weight. You can't do that. You can't do more, but then less food. You're gonna you're gonna run into the ground. So I had to learn how to back off a little bit, which is
It's
hard to do.
Yeah, it is. It's like the Mike Mentzer analogy, right? Because a lot of people think Mike Mentzer was all about just doing super low volume, but he was trying to find what was the perfect amount of volume for each individual. So you have to figure that out. And especially when you're increasing volume of your cardio and you're on lower food and stuff like that. I think that's where managing your volume in the gym becomes more crucial. Like the most crucial point is when you're on that contest prep. Once you start doing more than is optimal, you're breaking down, you're going backwards. So that's where you have to actually be like a smart bodybuilder, and that's not always easy to do, because then on the other hand, there's probably a lot of people who need to work harder. So then it's like what do I do to manage fatigue? Like, I'll just rest today? It's like, dude, no, you have to really push it. Like, you have to push it, man. Like until you've like basically gotten to the point where you're like almost like a professional at everything that you do in terms of skill, in terms of like how you execute your cardio, how you execute your training. I think you do have to do more to a certain degree. When you're a first-time competitor, you have to do more and more and more and more to try to see and push your body beyond what it's ever done before. And so every time you do more, that's like the next level of progress for you, right? And so yeah, that's definitely an important distinction, because when you're giving your all on a prep, you're going to be fatigued. It's just part of that. And there has to be some sort of like a feeling of satisfaction. You guys feel that too? Like when you have like a really hard workout, a really good cardio session, and then there's those moments in between your training sessions, like when you have a really hard cardio and then you're depleted and then you get to rest, and then you replenish yourself enough to have a really hard workout, and then you're depleted and you rest. And like it's those cycles of like pushing really hard and then you feel good when you rest, right? Like that's the balance for me.
You do, yeah. That's different.
All right. Anything else you guys want to say? We've been chatting for a while. I think Nate's done for the night,
I'm hungry, bro. My next meal's on deck.
Yeah. You got a pool back there? What's going on?
Yeah, it's my dad's house.
Oh, that's sick.
Oh,
that's nice.
That was good.
You still doing 4 a.m. wake ups, Nate?
Here
still getting up?
5:30.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So it's like, I mean, you can't be like the first one up,
Yeah. I've been doing all like 3:45, 4 a.m. wake ups. It's 2 hours of travel. Anyway, I feel you, man. I feel you.
Back home I do, but it's like, it's awkward, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to wake anyone up and stuff,
Yeah.
You gotta send us a invite, Nate, to your dad's place. It looks nice back there.
Oh yeah, come on down, babe.
Yeah, the little pool party over there. Yeah.
Oh, it's legit. That's nice.
Oh yeah.
Cool, man.
I was gonna say that's one of my favorite things about Tampa is just chilling outside, man.
Yeah, it's so nice.
So nice to chill outside. But it's getting nice here too, though. So it's like I always love prepping around this time of the season, you know, we're entering into like May, June, July for Canada. It's like prime season for contest prep. So, you know, sun's out, guns out, baby.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But all right, boys. Yeah, we've been on for a while. I'll let you guys go. Appreciate all you guys for coming on as always. And yeah, we'll do it again next week. Next week, same time.
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
Sounds
Good,
good.
boys. All right. Later.